Who were your influences when you got getting into wrestling? Who were your...
The guys that greatest, that had the greatest influence on me, helped me become a good wrestler. Early on, I'm the guy that, basically I was still in college playing football, and Dick Murdoch said to me one day, he said, he says, I'm going to Louisiana. Bill Watts is promoting there now. He said, you might think about coming there this summer instead of getting a regular summer job and try it out. See if you really want to do this. The NCAA had changed the law. In other words, there was a time that you could compete in a professional sport and maintain your amateur status. And they changed the law to where you could maintain your amateur status as long as you never competed in that particular sport. And so even though wrestling is, sports entertainment, it's still considered a sport to some degree, and you get paid. But it was okay then. I wasn't gonna be, deemed ineligible. So I went to Louisiana in the summer of 1975, and I never went back to school. I had 1 year to go, and that's a mistake. But Dick Murdoch, a guy named Killer Carl Cox, these guys were great wrestlers. Bill Watts, in my opinion, if Bill Watts had had the money and the opportunity to do what Vince did, he'd do it better. Because he knows the business. He knows wrestling. And he went to work for Vince at one point. And, he told, Vince and him ended up having this conversation where Vince basically told him, I know that I could give you the reins of my company and you could run it and do a damn good job. And he says, I just can't let it go. And basically that was Vince just basically saying, I could let you run my company and I'd make as much or more money. But I can't do that, because if I do that, you'll be getting the credit, not me. That's, of course, every successful man's got an ego of some kind. But Bill Watts, in his knowledge of the psychology of our business, Mid-South, when I was there in those years, was, in my opinion, the best territory in the country. The wrestling was, look at the guys that came out of there. That all became stars, huge stars. Okay, the Freebirds, Stan Hansen went to Japan and Bruiser Brody, who were both there when I started there, both became superstars in Japan. The Funks, and Murdoch, by the time the WWF stuff got going, he was late in his career and he ended up dying. Junkyard Dog, Jake, me. It's a list of the who's who. Even in their early career, Sting and the Warrior came through there as a tag team. And what was it Warrior said? Something about
your clothesline.
My clothesline.
Yeah.
Thought he patterned his clothesline after me, because every time I hit him with one, it hurt his Adam's apples. In reality, they just wanted us to pack our bags and leave, which wasn't the truth. They were just green at the time. But as long as I'm on that subject, I did not hate Jim Hellwig. I didn't hate the Warrior. I didn't like him because he didn't have any respect for our business. And if you watch the DVD that they originally did would have never been done if there wasn't a lot of truth to what everybody thought. But I also agree, you can't hang on to that, and people change. And I don't know how much he changed, but I know that he got married and had kids, which I didn't even know. But something that was one of the things that he said during his induction speech that told me a lot was that they had been abandoned by their father. That's where all of his anger came from. this thing that surprised me is here's a guy who I think when Vince took to him, because number one, Vince loves big muscle up guys. And Vince knew his story. Well, Vince had been raised by a stepfather that abused him, beat him up, and who eventually, like I don't know, he died or whatever. Vince has always said, I'd have been happy to put him in his grave. After that is when he met his real dad, and everything else got better. But he identified with Warrior. So, nobody knew that. Nobody knew that when Warrior went to New York that he stayed at Vince's house. Nobody did that. Nobody did that. And the guy takes him in like family, and then this guy who you take him in, you treat him like family, you make him your champion, and then he holds you up for $500,000 at a pay-per-view. That was my whole problem with Warrior, and everybody's problem was like, when you get in our business, you're joining a family. We're all working together to make a living, and we all help each other. It's like, I'm only a star because other people made me one. But that wasn't his attitude. I don't know, somebody said he read that book, The Art of War, and kind of like, it's like in war there are no real rules, just win. And that's how he kind of looked at the business. In other words, if I have to step on you to be successful, I'll step on you. And somehow he could separate the two. But anyway, am I glad he's dead? No. What I'm very happy about is the fact that the company did reach out to him. And that showed a lot of class. A lot of class. And it makes me feel good that his last days alive were happy ones, and that his children and his wife, got to see him honored before he died. I'm very happy that, you don't want the guy to die, but he couldn't have gone out any better. So that's where I am with Warrior. And a lot of people know that we had that rub, but it wasn't just me. It was, I don't know, I guess I'm just one that rubbed him wrong. I think it intensified when I got inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2010. I think Vince had reached out to him that year, and he said he wouldn't do it unless he got an apology for the DVD, and Vince scoffed at that. And so a writer said, if Vince had asked you, should the Ultimate Warrior be inducted in the Hall of Fame, what would you say? And my response to that was, not in my opinion. I said, now there's no doubt of his, in other words, his talent as far as he had a lot of charisma, he had the look, he had all that energy, but he never really tried to learn how to work, and he never appreciated the guys that, if he didn't have guys like me and Jake and any one of a number of other guys in the ring to literally tell him what to do, he wouldn't have been a star. And I said, there's a lot of guys that have been like that. I said, but he's one guy that never appreciated it. And so, for me, it's not just about talent. It's about character as well. And that was my response to the writer. Well, somehow it got back to him that Vince had asked me, which isn't true. And anyway, he wrote some long blog about how I had gotten lazy in the latter years of my career, and I let myself go, and I had cottage cheese legs and all this stuff. And I read that and I laughed, and I said, I'm not gonna write some book about this in response, but I said, Warrior, it's this simple. I said, you don't have to tell everybody about my faults. I wrote a book about it, a whole book. Every man has a price. And I just laid it right out there, and I said, here's where I was a total jerk. And I said, and I guess the last thing I would say is, a number of people, all very well respected in our business, separate from one another, asked the same questions collectively had the same answer about you. And I said, so I guess all of us are wrong, and you're right. And I left it at that. I think that's where where the rub was. But the night of the induction, even after it was over, as we were leaving, I thought about going backstage and say, I'm going to put this to rest right now. But I thought, no, it's his night. He's got his family with him. There'll be another time. And unfortunately, it wasn't. So, and I'm sad about that. But I do respect the company, and I'm very glad that they did what they did.